Hello everyone, welcome to Synapse 101, your weekly dose of neurological teaching. Today, we will discuss the medial aspect of the gross anatomy of the cerebral hemisphere. Let us orient you first. This is the anterior, this is the posterior aspect of the right cerebral hemisphere. Let us begin focusing in the center, in which you can identify a large group of white matter fibers, and this is called your corpus callosum. It connects the right and the left cerebral hemisphere. The corpus callosum is one of the largest callosal fibers. There are actually three types of cerebral fibers. Number one, association fibers that connect two regions in the same hemisphere. An example is arcuate fasciculus that connects Broca's area and Wernicke area. Number two, projection fibers that connect different regions from the cerebral hemisphere down to the brainstem or spinal cord or vice versa. Lastly, callosal fibers that connect the right and left cerebral hemisphere, in which corpus callosum is the largest. Corpus callosum has different parts, and these are anteriorly the rostrum, genu, body, and the most posterior part is your splenium. After the corpus callosum is your callosal sulcus that separates it from your cingulate gyrus. Cingulate gyrus is a part of the limbic system responsible for processing emotions and behavior regulation. It also helps regulate autonomic motor functions. After the cingulate gyrus is the cingulate sulcus. It separates the cingulate gyrus from your superior frontal gyrus and your paracentral lobule. The paracentral lobule is responsible for control of defecation and urination. After the paracentral lobule is your marginal sulcus that separates it from your precuneus. After the precuneus, you can appreciate a prominent sulcus here called your parieto-occipital sulcus that I've mentioned in earlier videos that will separate parietal lobe anteriorly and occipital lobe posteriorly. So this is more prominent in the medial view. So in front of it is parietal lobe and posteriorly is your occipital lobe. The occipital lobe is divided into superior part, which is called your cuneus, and inferiorly your lingual gyrus. And it is separated by your calcarine fissure. Inferior to the corpus callosum is a thin sheet of membrane hair called your septum pellucidum. It separates the anterior horns of the left and right lateral ventricles of the brain. It runs as a sheet from the corpus callosum superiorly down to the fornix inferiorly. This is the fornix, and inferior to that, is your interthalamic adhesion, which is also called as your intermediate mass or middle commissure that connects the left and right thalamus. You can appreciate here actually the right thalamus. Below that is your hypothalamic sulcus, which is the boundary between your thalamus and your hypothalamus. The anterior border is actually composed of your anterior commissure, and your optic chiasm. So in this model of the left cerebral hemisphere medial view, I will need to remove some structures to demonstrate the medial aspect of the temporal lobe. So let's remove your cerebellum and your brainstem. So in this view, you can appreciate the hippocampal gyrus, and as you follow anteriorly, you can appreciate the oncus. The hippocampus is part of the limbic system and plays important roles in the consolidation of information from short-term memory to long-term memory, and in spatial memory that enables navigation. So after the hippocampal gyrus is your collateral fissure that separates the hippocampal gyrus from your fusiform gyrus. So the fusiform gyrus plays important roles in object and face recognition and recognition of facial expressions. After which is the inferior temporal sulcus, then your inferior temporal gyrus. So that completes the medial aspect of the cerebral hemisphere.